All right, we're back with part two of building our Yew to Do app project. And if we come back and we look at our Cypress app, we can see, okay, well, right now it's looking to get this data test logo here, and then it wants to afterwards click it. This sort of like nav bar that we have here, that's not really anything. It's just text that we added in to the component, plain text, like right here. So really, like I could fix that by creating some kind of like link here. However, I know that links are going to be important and we're going to probably want more than one. So I'm just going to go ahead and start creating, this is going to be atoms. And we're also going to create a link. So I don't want to necessarily create it just link itself. That might be a little bit confusing. I'm going to call everything sort of like imagine that it's a component library that I've created. So Brooks builds link probably. So BB link. And that allows me, okay, so where's this mod? Okay. Go into atoms, then for you, go into BB link. And inside of here, we get to start creating our first actual just plain component that's going to be used. As we sort of mentioned, this is going to be a link tag, which also means that we need to start bringing in Yew.rs. Let's go just make sure that we grab the right spelling for it. Here's Yew.rs. It is the one that I'm thinking of, so we're going to pull you in. And let REST Analyzer do its thing. Oh wait, I already have a Yew.rs. Never mind. Okay. I didn't realize I already had it in there. Okay, so in that case, inside this BB link, we're going to pull in use Yew prelude star and then use Yew.rs. Okay, we're gonna create the functional component. We should probably just always do styled component for these. Because we just sort of assume that that's what we're going to be styling everything eventually. So might as well start there. And we're going to call these BB link. Now I do know that we're going to have to take in some kind of properties because I want this to be like, we want to be able to control what this looks like, what the text is going to be. So, and then we also going to want that, the data test. So those two things definitely going to need some kind of properties for this. So we're going to do a pub struct props. You have to derive properties. I believe clone and partial equal. And then we can say, okay, we're going to have our props, and you're going to be a type props. Okay, so far simple enough. Let's let's just create the very basic. We could create a very basic style sheet too for this. So let style sheet equals, it was the CSS. I don't necessarily know what we're going to put in there yet. And then we're going to return that HTML. So right now, I think this is just a link itself. So I need to remember, is it link like that? I forget what it is. Let's go find out. That's the route. Oh, this doesn't look like this documentation has what the route is. Let's go to Yew.rs. And inside of here, I believe it has, see, that's how to create that file, path segments. What are we looking for? Aha, okay, a link tag renders, okay, so it is just a link tag. We're gonna bring in route. Okay, so we need route. So we're gonna go to the crate, router, and then the route. So this is coming from the Yew router prelude. It's the type route. It's going to be closing that link tag too, and then we're going to have this to route home. Okay, so then to equals, and then it's just what is the route that we're going to. So route home. Well, this is not great because this link should not always go to that place. So this is what we need to start bringing in here. We are going to have like the label, like the text, that is going to be a string. We are going to have the, okay, so we have text. We're going to have like the data dash test, data test, which can also be a string. And we're going to have this link. So the route, which is going to be an instance of route. So then I want you to be props route. I don't want to move this out, so we can just clone it. You're upset because I haven't actually finished you yet. So we're going to close you. Link of route. Okay, so now you're happy. We're also going to, for this link, I believe we can take in class. What kind of classes can I give you? I think we can just give it a class like normal, or is it going to be classes? It might end up just being classes. Let's try class first and see what happens. So this is going to be now, I want that style sheet. Okay, so no field class. Let's try classes. In which case this would now be in an array. Okay, so there is a classes. Oh, you know what? I think this uses the classes macro, which then we put our style sheet into. Okay, this is much happier. And then inside of here, we're gonna put our text. So it's gonna be props.text clone. All right, that should be the basic it's still unstyled, but that should be fine. So we're gonna go back to our, where is it, nav bar here, and we now want to replace Yew. So we're gonna do create components atoms bb link. I could probably also just do super because that would it'd be super super. A little bit weird. Okay, so then we're gonna have our bb link. We have some properties to hand it now. So our properties that are required: text, data test, and route. So for text, we can just say, I want this to do, like, we'll do like to do. Oh, you know what I forgot to do today? Turn on our server. Let's go ahead and get that going. I guess it's not really required right now, but if I want to look at the other version of it, that kind of is required. Let's see, do I have it in my... I do. Okay, so I want to bring up JS View, and we'll let that run in the background for a little bit of time. Okay, so we have our text to do, data test, so we want that to be data test equals, what is Cypress expecting this to be? Logo. So logo. And then finally, the route. So the route equals this. We need to bring in route now. Okay, so our route is going to be a route. In this case, we are going home. You need to be strings, don't you? And these are static stirs. So we'll do a to owned and a to owned. Okay, let's see, what are you upset about? Oh, those fields are private. We need to make them public. And there we go. Okay, no errors. So if we come back to our code and we take a look at it, that is a link. It is showing that it's already clicked. That's why it's that sort of purple color. I kind of don't want that to be, I want to change the styling of that. Also, if I click on it, nothing happens because, well, it's, we haven't set up the router proper. Well, have we set up the router properly yet? I think we have. We did set that up, didn't we? Because we have our router, and we have in our main library. Oh yeah, we have browser router. So that will take us back to home. Okay, perfect. So if we start at create account here. Ooh, that's not taking me back. Okay. We'll need to fix that too. All right. Ooh, console has failed to read history. We'll have to also look into that. Make sure we hooked everything up correctly here. Yeah, that happens when I click on it. So that's a thing. So first of all, let's do a little bit of styling here. Make it a little bit easier to see. For our link, I'm gonna want, what do I want to do with this? I want you to have, we want to set like a color when you're like normally visible. In this case, I probably want it to be the same color as the other text. That's gonna be that antique, which we can go find in that here. Okay, antique white. So if I just set that, um, and let's inspect it, make sure. So I got my stylus there. Um, okay, it actually inherited that from the body, so it's probably not color that I want. I'm going to, let's see. I also don't see that it's trying to set that. Oh, no, this is from body. Yeah, okay. It's not trying to set that. So this CSS is not oh, well that will do it. Failed to parse CSS. Don't forget the semicolon. Okay, so that made the color properly set for us. Let's also remove that text decoration. That removes that underscore. I'm okay with the pointer cursor. It makes it fairly obvious that something is going to happen when I click it. So I'm okay with that. And so then we have to fix this this clicky thing. That failed to read history. So we need to go and re-look at the documentation and make sure we actually did set everything up correctly here. So we have our route. We have our let's see. We're not doing secure. Okay, we have function switch. We match on a route, and that gives us back the HTML. Okay, so we have that. We have a browser router, and we do the switch render. Okay, that should all be fine. We're not doing any path segments right now. Let's see. Not dealing with that. Okay, history and location. We should be able to get that through context link. That should be fine. There's some of, okay, there's nice, oh, we could use these hooks if we really want to. Now, is that because, let's see, I have my nav bar outside of the browser router. I wonder if that's a problem. Let's move that down here. Let's see if this makes things a little bit better. So we're on create account and now we're on home. Okay, so that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to make sure that browser router is the top level thing. In this case, because it is the top level thing, I can remove these fragments. I don't need them anymore. Okay, so basically, okay, browser router, we have our nav bar, and then we have, we put everything else inside of there. Excellent, okay. Then I should be able to come back to here and let's have Cypress retest this. Okay, so that didn't work. I tried to get data-test equals logo. I don't know if I put that in. Oh, I did not. I have the data-test and it's completely not used. Let's fix that. So right here, I'm gonna do a data-test equals And that is a props.data test. And we'll clone you. Let's see. Oh, expected a valid Rust identifier. So it doesn't know how to do a proper like data on this to like pass through. So we're probably gonna have to wrap something around this. So let's do, because I don't have access to the A itself, which would be really nice. Or we'll have to change this to be an A tag, and then we'll use like an event to grab that. So let's first try something like this. If I just do a span, because usually we don't want the routes to interrupt the flow of things. So we're gonna do a span, and we'll do the data test here. I don't need you here anymore. Unexpected end of input. That's because I didn't finish this tag. Okay, no more errors. If we go to create account and I click it, that technically works, but Cypress may have a little bit of a problem with us. Oh no, it worked. Here we go. It can navigate home using the logo. So it finds the thing, clicks it, and we're good to go. Okay, so excellent. We have done the first part of the first story here. We can now navigate home using the logo. Okay, now is an excellent time to commit these. I usually like to sort of like clean the palette between each sort of like thing that I'm working on, close all the files, close all the folders, and sort of reset this. So we can navigate home using logo. And just because I'm going to wrap logo in quotes, because I do not have a logo. I'm going to push these up later. Right now, let's continue working on this. What's next? Okay, we're right into, we should be able to create an account. Well, what's the first thing we're doing? We're visiting create account, which works, and then it's trying to get data test username. And if we take a look at what's going to happen, it's trying to get data test username, and then it's going to type username in here. Okay. Oh, and I was, this is a mistake. I'm going to fix this. So when you're doing this, following the course along, it is consistent with everything else. I want everything to be the data test equals, and this is not exactly that. So I want to fix that really quickly. Come over to our tests. Front end, Cypress. Okay, so this was in a command. That's why I didn't see it before. So it's in support commands. For create account, it's this I get, and we can do this dget. And we're just going to pass in this thing. And that should work exactly the same. Whenever you save the test, Cypress detects that and auto rerun. So we should be able to get to the same exact spot here. Yeah, so now it's trying to say, okay, it's trying to get data test selector specifically with username, and then later on it's going to do that typing stuff. So we need an actual like input field to go into our create account, which means, let's see where this here, which means we need another atom. So this is just going to be a plain old text input form field. So we're going to call this BB. With there's enough different types of text input fields, I'm actually going to do this as like a text input. So text input .rs. Do I need the router in this one? I don't think I need the router. We need stylist, and there's no prelude, so I just need I need the stylist. Actually, we get this stuff automatically. Rust Analyzer will find it for us. So styled component, you are a BB text input. We are going to have props for this. Okay, so we're going to have properties. We're going to have a partial equal and clone. So what are the things we need to pull in for this? Well, we know we need that data test. Data test. It's going to be a string. What else do we need? I want some kind of label to sort of like display at the top, and then maybe we can have something that would be a what is it called? I always forget the name of this thing. The placeholder. Those could be nice. So let's do a pub label. You could be a string. We could do a placeholder. We don't necessarily need the placeholder, so I'm going to make this be an option string. And let's see, anything else that I'm really sort of like envisioning here? We can actually go and take a look at the other one just for see all of you. I need another window. Inspiration here. Docker PS. We have our JS view running on port 63,658. So in create account, oh, we're gonna have this title too. That's probably something we want to do. Right now, I think in this one, looks like we're only doing a placeholder, but I can see like a label up here instead of a placeholder. Or we can have like both things. Let's try doing it with a label. I feel like doing it slightly differently. So we're gonna do props. It's gonna be props. We're gonna turn HTML. And all right. What are we doing here? We might as well create our style sheet first. We'll get to that in a little bit. We can start returning our HTML. And in this case, once again, well, this is going to be two things. We're going to have a label, and then we're going to have a the actual input. So to allow maximum flexibility, we're going to do a fragment here. And let's see, what are we doing for you? We want a label. Label takes one thing, a 4. And then we can potentially put something inside of here. So I actually want this label to be in here. Can I just hand it a reference to it? We'll be happy with that, or do I have to always clone it? Okay, reference is fine too. Okay, label, I want 4 equals. So this needs to be set for some kind of like ID of what that's going to be. We could set that to be the data dash test, but it needs to be guaranteed to be unique. We could also set this to be like the actual label, but if it has spaces in that, that could be not great. We could try to bring in some random number generator and like generate some like a random one. I don't know if that would be great. Let's just say this one has to take an ID. So in that case, 4 equals props.id. Clone you. And then down here, we're going to have our input. Type is going to be text because this is a text input. We need to have an ID, which is going to be props.id. Clone that. Out of curiosity, can I make both of these references? No, I can't. Okay, this needs to be an actual thing. Okay, so then you are back to clone. Just here while we're displaying. Okay, so we have our input, type text. Okay, so we have the ID of this. If there is a placeholder, okay, so we're gonna want to set what our placeholder is. So placeholder, I want to unwrap this. We're gonna do props dot placeholder dot. We're gonna do an unwrap. I don't want. Do I want unwrap or default? So a default string would be just an empty string. That actually might be fine for this. So unwrap or default. So it'll be an empty string, which then will just kind of look like not a placeholder there. So we're gonna add in placeholder. I believe we can just do that, and you're happy. Cannot move out of here because it has option string, which does not implement the copy trait. We can try to do so as ref, like they suggest. Let's try that. Then unwrap our default. String default is not set. Oh, there is no. Oh, there is a default. Okay. Why are you upset? Okay, so the treat bound, a reference to a string is not satisfied. Oh, that's a problem. Okay, so we could potentially clone this, and I think that would work better because it clones the option, it clones the thing inside the option, and then it unwraps our default. So it's a little bit unfortunate we have to do that. If we run into like major if you run into like major performance problems, then like maybe we can look into not doing this. But as web applications, usually these things load so fast and like they just sit here, and like the component doesn't load very often, it should be fine. Like nobody should notice anything. So I'm going to leave this exactly as it is. We're going to have our placeholder. We need to make sure we have our style sheet, and we're going to be putting this. Interesting. Where do I want to put this? Do I want to put it on the label or on the input? It kind of depends upon what I want to style, or both. Okay, so then we have, we're going to want our data test, which I want to go on the input itself. So we're going to do a data test equals props dot data test. If you're never read, I'm reading you right here, and then I'm reading you here. Seems a bit odd that it's yelling at me about that, but okay. Let's see. So that's data test. We have our label. We have a placeholder. We have our ID. Okay, let's just get this displaying inside of our nav bar here. We're gonna want a title too, and I'm probably gonna want to create that as an atom as well, because I want to have consistent styling across all the pages. So, oh, that's as a nav bar. We want in home. This, wait, no, this is create account. We want this in here. So we're gonna want to replace this most likely. Okay, so let's pull in. So if I was trying to go like super, then it goes to that mod. I'd have to go super, and then I can go to, wait, could it go super? No, that just back to there. So super components, atoms, XX input. That's kind of useless for that. So we're going to go back to create. And let's put this in a div here. I'm going to make this a section. So it is the section of the actual user login form. And we're going to have our BB text input. Now, all the things going into this. We're going to have our data test. So data test equals, in this case, what are you looking for? You're looking for username. Okay, label. What do we want to label this as? Let's just put username like that. Okay, do I want a placeholder or not? If we don't do one, it'll just be an empty string. I'm okay with doing one for this. Placeholder equals what username do you want? And then an ID for the label. Now, thinking about this more, I don't really care about that ID at all. So I kind of don't want to use it. So you're yelling at me because I don't have this ID. I'm gonna take this away, which should make you happier. Only one root element. Oh, that is absolutely true. Let's go ahead and create a fragment. Um, oh, so it doesn't like this. Oh, right. It has to be data underscore test. See, we're happy here. Okay, so we don't have this ID on here anymore because I need to set up one. So we're gonna do let ID equals. So I'm thinking right now, just taking maybe the label and we can remove any strings from it and like just lowercase it or something like that. So let's take our label. So we're gonna do props label. It's a stir. What can we do to it? Um, we can potentially replace anything that has a string on it. Split I don't think will help. We can to lowercase it. That now gives us a new string. Is there a there's a contains. I don't think contains is what I want. There's a replace. Okay, so let's replace. Place all matches of a pattern with another string. So replace creates a new string and copies the data. Okay. All right, so we have the this is old. We're gonna replace old with new. Okay, so let's say our from is we want to take any space character and we want to replace it with a dash, which is legal in HTML for IDs. And then you become this ID. We don't even need to clone you now. We have ownership of you. And same thing here. Well, I might need to clone you the first time. See, this is already owned by that first one we used, right? Yeah, move value. So let's clone you here. And then we'll have access to it here. Okay. Let's see if we can see. Oh, I'm on home. Need to go to create account. And I just want to inspect this to make sure that that entire replace happened correctly. So we can see label for username, ID equals username. Okay, so that's correct so far. Let's try giving it a space in the label. So what if I do like user space name? And if we take a look at that, aha, ID is user dash name. Okay, so that's all correct. That's working exactly as we expected it to. I'm going to go back to just username. That just makes more sense to me. Okay, so other things. I really want the pattern to be just the label on top, and then with the input form like just right below it. I like that a little bit more. So that's what I'm gonna do here. So inside view, I kind of want to have you be a like a div Okay, that brings it like that. Okay, that's great. I'm gonna want like the text size, I think is fine. Although if I go to like 0%, this is absolutely tiny. Um, we wanna change something like that. Just to make it a little bit easier for you all to see. Um, I want you to be a bit bigger. Actually, we just want to set like a default font size. That's going to be global. So we're going to put that in index. Let's um let's actually set a specific number. Let's try something like 72. Uh and just see what that feels like. Well, that's not too bad. That's essentially an H1. Everything's now essentially an H1. That's gonna be interesting to sort of play around with. This username field is you can be a little bit smaller, I think. So I want to come here and we're gonna have on our style sheet. I want this label to be tiny bit smaller. So let's see. Let's do. We have a couple choices here. We can do. Let's actually just select the label, and we're gonna make the font size. So the other one is 72. Let's make you like 36 pixels. We're gonna have to take off this fragment and make you a div. So that way we can then set you as a class equals the style sheet. That then sets our label as the correct size here. Okay. Um, that's a lot of space in between. Looks like our input tag. Oh, it looks like this div here has a margin, a padding on it, a 72 size pad. Oh, because it's the default size. Okay, let's not do this as the as here. I think that's going to screw things up a little bit too much. So we're going to just start with to do. We're going to have to come back and fix the link. We can do that right now really quickly. In BB link, I just want you to have a font size of maybe like the same other one will be good, 36 pixels, and then we'll save the 72 for the titles. So there's our to do. Our username is like this. Okay, I want this text field to be much bigger. So just to make sure what we can do with that, if I take this input and I give it a width of like 100 pixels, I guess a lot more than that. Okay, so I can give it a width. That will work. How about a height of like 500 pixel? Okay, so that also works, but then the font size is still really low. So I also need to set the font size to be something like 36 pixels. Okay, so if I do something like height 36 pixels, font size 36 pixels, and then width can be whatever I want, including 100% if that's what we want to go with. And I think that looks decent enough. Okay, so we have our font size. That's going to be in the label. We also want our input to have a font size. We can have you be the same, 36 pixels. What else here? 36 pixels. We want a width of, what do I want to set this to? Like 75%? It could be like could be 100% of whatever it's inside. So if I do that, this goes across the entire screen. That might be okay. Um, we need to then like get this sort of pared down, but we don't do that in the BB text input. We're going to do that in create account. So we need styles here. And we're going to put you on this section probably. All right. What are we getting here? We have our I want to set the width of what everything is gonna like what we're gonna have inside. So the section class itself, let's set you to have a width of maybe 75 view width, which is gonna be 75% of like whatever view we actually have. Okay, there we go with that. I want this to be centered. What are my choices with that? If I just take this section here and I try to do something like text align center, that's probably not going to work out. It's going to center the label, but not this thing. So I think we're going to need a flexbox for this. So I want you to be fully centered. So that means I want the flexbox on here. So we're going to do display flex. Very interesting that remove the width that we have. And I want justify content center. Okay, that's working. Why did I lose the width? I see that still has the width there, but you don't have any width anymore. Do I have to come into you and say you have width 100%? Oh, I do. Okay. But then if I do that, you're not centered anymore. You do know what that means, though. It sort of has that width that goes just what that is. So then let's try some of these other ones. None of these are making that. What about our other justify content? So we have justify items. I think that's grid. Doesn't seem to do anything. We have justify self. I don't think that's going to do anything. No, it doesn't. There's also a line. That doesn't do anything. This is my like I don't really like sort of memorize all the rules for like styling. So I just do this all the time to sort of like double check how things work and then play around with it in a browser. Uh, it's my favorite way to figure these things out quickly without just random guessing or having to go and search for it. That being said, none of those things seem to work. If we do that display flex, okay, as soon as I gave it a width here, that's when it stopped working. But then this has that width of 100%, and it is set to not be happy. Now, if I give you a width also here, uh, well, we gave you a width right here. It's 75 view width. Um, okay, that doesn't do anything for us. Uh, you have that width. Okay, so at that point, you think you're here. If I keep on, do I have to like do a width 100% all the way up the chain because it's grabbing it from, nope, don't save. No, I don't. Your width, but then you lose the centering. Justify content. Is it center or middle? It's center. Okay. Back to you and remove you. That centers you, but notice how it's offset to the left? It's because it knows that it goes out a lot further. So what do I need to do for you? Let's reset you really quickly. Let's try this again. I'm gonna put it on this stylus sort of class here. We're gonna do, okay, so we have a width of 75 view width for this section. I don't want to do, let's see, okay, so you have the display block also. So if I update you to display flex, instantly we lose the width of this. Okay, which removes the display block of view. Not seeing anything taking off the width inside of here. This is the one I'm really interested in. Okay. So I want you to have the proper width. Now we set, interesting, taking that off unsets the width there. Let's see about this. Display, let's do justify content, center. Okay, so we have this now centered, and it is centered properly. This is the real middle of the screen because I haven't set any widths on this. So let's go and try to see if I do the center on this div here, and I try to do like a I don't know, a width, let's say. Uh, Moz available is interesting. So this is Firefox. So Moz available makes that like just a full screen there. It's not exactly what I want. If I just set the width to be something like 75%, oh, then that works. There we go. Okay, so what do? We don't set a width on the top level. We have this be 100% here. We display flex, justify content center, and then in the inside of here, we have a width 75%. That's what it's taking up. I believe that I could just say I want this class or this thing to be 75% width. That might be good. We can have like all the children. So let's think about this. I want the where would you be? We have our create account. We have our section class. Okay, so I don't want this width 75 view width here. We want a display flex, justify content center. Let's see. And then I want this thing, which the BB text input is this entire div with a class. So I kind of want to like have another class that I can then put on top of that. So we're gonna add that in. Let's add this in as optional because we may not want that in the future. So just do a class. It'll be an option string. And you're going to become this classes now. Okay, so we'll have the style sheet, and then I want class equals, this can be props dot class. We don't know exactly what you should be, so we're going to do this clone and then unwrap our default. Okay, so you're happy here. If we come in and take a look at you, we just have the okay. Oh, we have classes equals this. That's not what I wanted. I believe it's class equals that. Okay, so it's class equals that, and now let's add in a extra class inside of here. So for your BB text input, I want a class of, what do I want to call this? This is, I guess, like our username. And now, okay, we now see BB, let's see, class, the stylist, and then space username. So it's sort of like creating multiple classes together in a single class tag, which is nice for us because now we can select that. So I want to then say in create account, we want to do, okay, so we now need to wrap this up. So we can say you're going to be our section. And then we'll have our dot username. You're going to have the width of 75%. And then that's how we're going to know. We're going to keep like that sort of class information, like the how to display and what it's going to look like outside of the text input component itself. And the page is going to be worried about that. But this means that this style sheet actually needs to go up here just in case we also need to well, because we need to do both of you. So you become divs too. Okay, you're happy. So there we go. Okay, we now have we can refresh, and we have our username and the actual username form field here. Okay, great. The next thing is we're gonna want something to happen when we update the username, right? Because like we want to be able to type. Well, let's data get guess. Let's see how far we gotten. Okay, so it's successfully typing in it, and now it's looking for a password. Well, that's going to be interesting because a password is exactly the same thing as an input, except it has the little stars or dots or whatever your browser is using for the input. And I don't want to create like a BB text password. I think it's too similar to this one. Like a type radio or like checkbox are properly different, but this one, I think we should have maybe some kind of type in here. So pub, I don't know if I want to use type because that's a reserved keyword. So this could be input type, and perhaps we should like actually have an enum that we expose. An input type enum here, which is, if we do this, it's probably going to have to also implement these, but let's worry about that in a second. We want this to be like normal and password. So normal is really just text, and then password, and then we're going to store this here. Input type. You're upset because you need partial equal. So partial equal, we need clone. I don't think we need properties. But you're now immediately upset at us because we're not passing this in. So let's now take care of that. So we have this BB text input. Let's also bring in input type. And what do we call it? It's just input underscore type. Input underscore type is input type text. So if I want to add in another one here, this is going to be a BB text input. Okay, so data test, it's going to be password, label, password. This is what is your password? Okay, so class is password for that. However, I don't really care about this. So maybe we can just call this is an input. And we can update you. Then input type, you're going to be type password. Now, right now, that's not going to change anything. Oh, they're right next to each other too. So we're going to have to make this a column as well, which I believe we can do with Flexbox. So we have justify content center, and then we have flex direction, which we can do as a row. No, a column. We want a column. But that also gets rid of our justify content center. which is a little bit unfortunate. So we may have to figure that part out too. But let's do flex direction column for right now, because at least that will look a little bit better. So flex direction column. Okay, there's that. Input we do have as this width 75%. That seems to be working, but maybe we need to change U2. I don't know. Let's see, what else do we need to do? Oh, in here, we need to set we need to actually use this input type. So we have this type text. So I want to do we're going to impl toString for input type. Implement our missing members. Okay, so we're going to match on self. And then, okay, so for if it's text, this is going to be text to owned, and you are going to be password to owned. So now what we can do is take this input type and toString on it right here. So input type equals, instead of text, you're now going to be props dot input type dot toString. That should be fine. And now if we type in a password, we get little dots. So that is excellent. The centering we have to figure out a little bit. Where is that? So looking at that, that's still taking up 100%. You're also taking up 100% here. I see. Which is probably fine. And then each of you are the 75%, which is also fine. If we remove this, it doesn't really help. It just goes 100%. And you, if I take the justify content isn't doing anything anymore. So if I try some of these other ones again, I don't think they're going to work. They didn't work last time. They're going to work this time. Let's see. We have a display flex. In the old days, we do like a margin left and right, but I might have to do something else for this. Okay, that's our flex. And it happened when we did our flex direction column, or when we had multiple of these. That's also the other possibility, is that when we had two of these. Okay, so if I just take you and I like delete one of the nodes, oh, I guess that wouldn't. I'd have to delete this node. Oh, look at that. Okay, so it's not centered anymore. Oh wait, okay, so there's my section. I want to take this node, delete you. Yeah, it's not centered anymore. So that's our problem here, is something about what we just added in. So flex direction column. So flex direction column is what's breaking this. So we have this column and no wrap, and it's a row no wrap. I wonder if we have to come inside of here and do a display flex. Let's see, you would be, oh, it doesn't like that at all. So probably not display flex there. We could do a display flex. Let's see. Let's bring them both back again. So display flex. Let's see. I'm also running out of time, which is making me not necessarily think super straight. So what I'm gonna do is something that I often recommend everybody else to do is I'm gonna take a break, and when we come back to it, hopefully it should just come to me, and we should figure it out. Thank you so much for watching this. Hopefully following along is going well, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.